Hi everyone, today I thought I'd bring you something a little bit different. What I thought we would do is just take a look at how to get the dungeon walls up, painted in a fairly quick, speedy manner. In, I think it's about 6 steps, roughly. Maybe a couple more just for the little bits. So this is my test piece, and I will just run through the quick steps in how to get it looking like this from the bare resin. So I have got one here. This one has been primed in Mechanicus Standard Grey spray by GW. All I will say is before you put any paint on the miniatures, these are resin pieces. I suggest you wash the resin first. You can do that with some warm water. Use some mild hand soap. Put it in a bowl, give it a mix, dip the resin in, leave it in there for a few minutes. Get an old toothbrush or an old paintbrush. Just give it a gentle brush, just scrub it a little bit, just to get rid of all the resin release, the mold release that comes off. It just helps the paint adhere to the material better, and it generally is just nicer. Also, if there are any pieces that need gluing, so same with any resin models, it will help the glue stick the pieces together a bit easier as well. So always prep your resin, always wash your resin. So this has been sprayed with Mechanicus Standard Grey. Now the first step is going to be basically what takes the longest to dry. Once this is done, you can pretty much speed through the rest. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Nuln Oil, but you can use any sort of black wash. So Army Painter Darktone, I believe it's called. Or I've got a Vallejo sort of black wash over there as well. I can't remember what the name of it is. So we are just going to get this, and probably want to do one side at a time. We are just going to slather this on, trying to control the runoff just so I don't waste too much. This doesn't need to be on too thick, but you do want to get it in all the recesses. If when you were spraying the model, it didn't quite catch any of the areas, I wouldn't worry too much. You could get sort of some Mechanicus Grey and go in and touch it up, but yeah, probably don't need to do that. Just going over the top there. I'm not going to do the ends, just because on the table I plan that they'll never be seen. There's end pieces that come with, I'm just going to do this in one go, so I'm just going to hold it like this. It comes with end pieces, so in theory you should never have to see those ends. Obviously you can paint them. They are smooth though, so there's no texture to them, so a lot of the techniques after this wash will kind of be a little bit pointless, because it won't pick up on any of the dry brushing that we're going to be doing. So once this is all on, I will be letting it dry. It will take, depends how much you've pulls, but you're looking at probably about 20 minutes, half an hour for it to dry. There is one other washing sort of stage, but you'll see when we get to it. that it won't take as long to dry. Right, so that's done. It's nice and shiny, looking darker. Just want to get that little bit out of that gap. I don't want it pooling in there. Another colour goes in there later. Okay, so that's step one. We've got our Nuln Oil on there, so we're going to leave it at that, and then we'll be back and we will do the next stages. Okay, so we are back. It's been about 25 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes. The Nuln Oil is now dry, mostly. A little bit wet in the tiny recesses there, but that's fine. So we're going to go on to the next couple of steps now. So the next couple of steps are dry brushing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a grey paint. I'm going to use GW Dawnstone. This is a little bit lighter than the Mechanicus Grey that we used first. Some people would go back to a Mechanicus Grey first. I don't see the point because we just used that and we just darkened it. So I'm just going to jump straight to a lighter grey. Dry brushing, you want most of the paint off the brush, so we're just going to wipe most of the paint off the brush, and then we're just going to gently just bring this all over the model. Not brushing too hard. Just want that grey just to catch the edges. Now I should mention, because we're doing like walls and things and scenery, like you don't have to be too uniform with this. Like if this piece ends up a little bit lighter than the next piece, or you go a bit heavy on like one of the dry brushing steps on one of the pieces, doesn't matter too much because they're walls. There's always going to be a bit of variation, as long as they're roughly the same colours, and they look fine when they're all like lined up next to each other. Like it doesn't matter, right? So just get a little bit in there. Now this is the next two steps of setting up for I cast this as all one step, to be fair. This is just the double dry brush layer. This is sort of one step in the overall finish of the piece, because we're pretty much just going to jump straight in with the next one. Okay, so we've gone all over, catching all the drow gear and bits and pieces as well. Probably can't really tell that much on the camera. So I'm gonna go for a lighter colour now. I've got a Celestra Grey now. So we're going to do a lighter dry brush, again all over. Just wiping that paint off again. And this time we don't want to catch as much. And if you just do little circular motions, it just picks up some of the detail that you might miss if you're doing it just in straight lines. And also I'm using GW paints for this. You could use, as long as you start off with a fairly darkish grey spray, and then your black wash, and then your slightly lighter grey. As long as you've got basically 3 greys, well, 4 as you'll see in a minute, but this is all just layering it up for the next stage here. Okay, so that's looking more like some textured stone. Got your multiple greys. Now, I'm just going to jump straight into the next step. I was using, just so people know, I was using a large dry brush. I do have the Opus dry brushes, but I don't want to use it on scenery, so I'm just using an old tatty GW one. Now, if you wanted your walls to be greyer than my ones, you could skip this next step and go on to the final light dry brush and then pick out the details, which we'll go over in a minute. I find in Skyrim the walls are mostly sort of have a brownish sort of tinge to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take contrast Aggaros dunes, and I'm going to give it a shake first. Basically, colour in the stone. So I'm going to get go back to my shade brush that I used for the Nuln Oil, and this is, I'm not applying it particularly heavily. I just want to tint the colour of the stone into this brownish brownish colour. Again, with the doesn't matter if you do go heavier, but do get the whole model, the drow gear and everything, because we're going to take it back to a more greyish colour in a minute and then pick those guys out. But yeah, I just find in the video game everything wall wise tends to look quite brown if you look closely at it. So you see that obviously that was like three steps which were happening very, very quickly. And this contrast doesn't take too long to dry either. To give you an idea of time, while I was waiting for the Nuln Oil to dry on this one piece, I had 6 other wall pieces that already had the Nuln Oil dry, and I finished all 6 of them while I was waiting for the Nuln Oil to dry. So in like 30 minutes I'd finished 6 of these other walls, from the Nuln Oil stage right to the end stage. So yeah, if you want to use this technique, like I said, it will, apart from waiting for the Nuln Oil to dry, you'll have some walls finished pretty quickly. I've also got all of the corner pieces and everything, and the puzzle door all Nuln Oiled now as well, so they'll be the puzzle door I will be doing a little bit differently. It's going to be a bit lighter than these pieces. Okay, so we have now tinted, I'm going to call it a tint, the wall with the Aggaros dunes. It gives it this, well, currently shiny brown look to it. I need to wait for that to dry. This doesn't take very long. I would say 5-10 minutes. So we'll be back in a minute. The next step is we're going to give it 2 more dry brushes, and then we're going to pick out the details on the crypt areas, and a final little stage of just adding a little bit more detail to it, but you'll see that in a minute. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes. The contrast paint is now nice and dry. Again, maybe in the tiny recesses it might just still be a little bit wet. So we've now got this nice sort of brownish stone looking wall. Again, if you want it to be quite brown, you could leave it there. I'm going to take it back towards grey, basically, but I'm going to use Terminatus Stone, which is a dry brush paint, again by GW. This is kind of like, oh, I don't know, it's like a brownish, grey, stony colour. Yeah, so again, we're just gonna dry brush this on, and just basically bring it back towards the greyish tones. So a little bit in there. I do want to catch the cloths and stuff on the drow gear, just because we're gonna go over those. We want those to be quite light when we go over. That was a bit too much. When we go over them in a minute. And again with the sort of dead drow gear there as well. Is he dead there, or is he just sleeping? Who knows? Shoot an arrow into him while he's still asleep, just to double check. Although you can always tell, can't you? Because they're always animated slightly differently if they're dead or alive. I'd love to see actually a terrain piece, sort of the alcoves where they're standing in them, and if it could actually fit a miniature in. So you could have it stood there. That would be really cool. I'd like, you know, use it as a in game. You could sort of use it as a spawning point. That would be pretty cool. Although it would probably have to be quite a bit thicker than what the wall pieces are currently. So that would spoil it. Could have it as a corner piece, I suppose. Or just have it, you know, a slightly thicker piece. And again, same on the other side. Just catching all of those raised edges. We just don't want to be missing out on any of that nice detail. Like I said before, these are walls. It doesn't matter if you do it a little bit differently each time. It's not going to matter. Final dry brush now is going to be Wrack White. We're not going to use too much. And this is just going to be probably just on the top, sort of top sort of 50%, and I don't want to put too much on. Probably not even that much. Just lightens the top of the wall up a little bit. And then on this side, I just want to drop the paintbrush. How can we never see like professionals drop their paintbrush? Just going to do again the top part, that cloth there, a little bit around the stone, a little bit on the trowel gear, a little bit on that cloth there. A little bit on the drow gear down there. Okay, so there we've pulled that from brown to more of a brownish grey now. So we're at this sort of stage. And then that's basically it. That's all the stone done. That's all we're going to do. So on your corner pieces, on your pillars and things, or on the walls without the draw gear, you're all, actually no, you're not quite done. There is one more step to do on that bit. But I'm just going to grab a normal brush, and I'm going to grab Snakebite leather contrast paint. I'm going to get a little bit on brush, and I'm just going to go over the cloths. Now, because of all the dry brushing we've just done, as long as you don't go too heavy with this, you basically have given yourself the shading already, so you don't have to sort of dry brush back over this. And this one down here. Okay, and that's that whole step right there. That's nice and easy. Then I'm going to get, so I painted my Draugr with Darkoath flesh, the actual Draugr models. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that now and just gently, I don't want this to show up too much, so I don't know how much this is actually showing up on the camera. A little bit. It's just to tint the skin on this guy just slightly, and then just the head on this one down here. We leave the wrappings as they are. We've shaded those enough. Right, so that's that. Nice and easy. I'm getting there. Like I said, it is actually really quick. Like I said, I did 6 walls in the 25-30 minutes that it took for the Nuln Oil to dry. And then my friend messaged me and was like, why don't you just use a hairdryer? And I was like, oh, didn't even think of it. So before jumping into the next step, I'm taking Creed Camo, green contrast. You could use any real green for this. I like this one just the way it runs into the corners. I'm just painting, and you can be a little bit messy with this, it doesn't matter too much. This just to indicate like some moss growing, or so I'm basically getting all of the sort of recesses, not all of the recesses, but the recesses around here. Just a little bit around here, and again you can pick your spots on this. Oh my god, I can't paint around the camera. Let's go across there, a little bit up there. One, it just makes them pop a little bit, and 2, it just adds a little bit more variety of colour to your walls. And you don't have to be too neat, because I doubt it grows uniformly. So if you do go over a little bit in places, you can just blend it in a little bit, make it look like it's supposed to be there. It doesn't matter if you get a little bit on the cloth there as well. It just helps blend it in on the model a little bit more. And then on the other side, I'm just going to go down there, there, across this line here. And this one over here. A little bit here. Awesome. And that's it, basically. That dries, it'll blend in a bit more as it dries. so that was it, guys. So I mean, I don't know how long this video is actually going to be. I'm hoping not too long. I hope it shows. I mean, it's mostly me waffling. It takes a little bit longer to paint on camera than it does off of it. So I've done all 8 walls. So I've got 2 sets of the walls sets. So I've done all 8 of them. I've managed to do them in an evening. And if I hadn't been filming, it would have taken less time. So, because I would have done it all in one go rather than do a test piece and then film a piece. So all of these walls, oh my god, everything's sticking to the table, should look like they sit next to each other quite nicely. I would say so. So we've got 8 of those. I've got the corner pieces and the puzzle door to do, and the end pieces, but they've all been Nuln Oiled, so they're ready for the last few steps, which, like I said, is very quick. I used Mechanicus Stone Dry spray. You've got Nuln Oil, you've got the next 2 greys for the dry brushes, then you've got your Aggaros Dunes contrast, 2 more dry brushes, which are the actual dry brush paints, and then the finishing details, which are the other 3 contrasts there. But you could use, like I said, with the moss, you could use any green. I like the way the Creed Camo sort of sinks into the recess and highlights it. I might go back and lighten it up with a dry brush of like another green, maybe, but I probably won't. So in total, 9 paints and a spray. Or a spray and 9 paints, I should say, and in my opinion, a nice effective paint job. It will look good once it's on the table, and everything looks better, you know, when it's painted. So yeah, I hope this helped. Like I said, I don't pretend to be an amazing painter. Terrain is something I can do reasonably well, reasonably quickly, and I thought this might be useful for newer players or people that might not have painted so much, especially terrain. And if you're going to spend out on the resin terrain, you might as well spend a bit of time to make it look or to make it pop on the table. So thanks for watching again, guys. If you enjoyed it, chuck a comment in the description, or chuck a comment in the comment section even. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Tell us what you want to see more of. If you want to see more painting videos, I can certainly do more terrain videos for people. If we're very lucky, we can get one of the Johns to do some actual miniature painting videos. If we're really lucky, we may see Pat actually paint a miniature one day. And Rob's alright, Rob gets by. So yeah, hopefully you'll watch again. Thank you very much.